Well, today's gospel reading from the Garden of Eden, the book of Genesis. God said, "It's not good for man to be alone." So God formed out of the ground various wild animals and various birds of the air. And he brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called each of them, that would be its name. He gave names to all the cattle, all the birds of the air, and all the wild animals. Tomorrow is the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi. And St. Francis of Assisi loved to preach. He was a deacon. He never went on to become a priest. He was a deacon. And deacon have the faculties to preach. And Francis preached. And he didn't always just preach at Mass. And when he was on the road traveling, and he always traveled on foot, and he wasn't anywhere near a church, he would preach to whoever was near, and if he found himself by himself, he would preach to the animals. In fact, we have a beautiful double stained glass window in the gathering room. You might want to check it out if you haven't noticed it, of St. Francis doing exactly that, preaching to the animals. And count the animals there to see if you can get them all. Most people miss a couple. Some of them are kind of hidden, but go ahead and try that out after Mass. Preaching to the animals. Well, you know, animals are very important. Animals can sometimes save our lives. There's a wonderful story in the book of Numbers, in the Old Testament, of a guy named Balaam. Balaam was a pagan, and he was a sorcerer, and he was hired to curse and condemn people. And this particular pagan tribe didn't want the Israelites to pass through their territory. So they hired Balaam to go curse the Israelites. So Balaam mounts his donkey and he's on the road to curse the Israelites when the donkey stops dead cold. And Balaam's upset. And he gets his stick and he hits the donkey, yelling at the donkey to keep moving. And the donkey turns his head around. It's the only place in the Bible where an animal speaks. This donkey speaks to Balaam and says, "You can hit me all you want, but if I take one step forward, that angel will slay us both." Because the donkey saw the angel, but Balaam did not. Because the donkey was innocent and Balaam was not. Balaam was not a believer. And at that moment, the angel reveals himself to Balaam and tells him, "You will not curse the Israelites, you will bless them." And so Balaam blessed the Israelites. See, the donkey saved Balaam's life. And there's many other instances when that happens. When I was fishing down in Costa Rica, we saw many schools of dolphins, which was very good because it was a school of dolphins. There's probably a lot of fish because that's what they're out to get. And there are many stories of people out in the water being saved by dolphins pushing them to shore. Or stories about a dog waking you up when there's a fire in the house so you can get out, have your life saved. Yes, animals are part of our lives. Many people have pets at home, cats and dogs and other kind of animals as well. Some people keep hamsters, some people keep birds, few people keep snakes. But anyway, whatever pets are, because pets give us some comfort, pets give us community, pets will give you as long as you feed them, will give you unconditional love, you know, and they care about you whether you're happy or whether you're sad. I remember growing up, the first dog we had was Buttons, and Buttons got hit by a car, so it was replaced by Peppy. And getting Peppy was an amazing moment. I was in the 5th grade, and I was playing cello, and I remember coming back from school, and we got a phone call from Mrs. Vetterini, who lived 2 houses down. Now, there were acres between the houses because this was still very rural out in Canton. So you could see her house. And she had 2 poodle dogs, and her husband wanted her to get rid of one of the poodle dogs. So my mother and I got in the station wagon. We just drove right there to their house to pick up the dog. And there were 2 poodles, and one was wearing baggy plastic pants, and the other one was not. And my mother thought that was odd and said, "Well, why is that dog wearing baggy pants?" And Mrs. Vetterini, in a moment of honesty, said, "Well, that's Pierre. That's Peppy's father." The other one was Peppy. "And he's never been housebroken." My mother said, "What about Peppy?" "Well, he's housebroken. We'll take Peppy." So we took Peppy in the car. We drove back. 2 hours later, Mr. Venerini drives home. It was a warm day. I was outside, and you heard Mr. Venerini screaming across the field, "You gave away the wrong dog! This one poops over everything! Get that other dog back and get rid of this one!" Oh, she was fierce. Phone rings. It's Mrs. Venerini. "Is it possible," my mother's name was Irene, "is it possible, Irene, that we could switch dogs?" My mother heard Mr. Venerini shout, "No, I'm sorry, the kids are already attached to this one." In all my years of middle school and high school selling those chocolate bars, the Venerinis never bought one. But we love that dog, and that dog stayed with us all the way until I was in law school. Pets are important in our life. And so it's very appropriate on the Sunday closest to St. Francis Day that we bless our pets. So today at noon, right outside those doors, be here with your pet, and I will bless it to remind us that God gives us those pets as another of the many, many ways He shows us that He loves us.